Hello, good evening. In this video, I'll be talking about the believer's strategy for the end time. You see, a whole lot has been playing out in this day and time, and unfortunately, many people seem not to understand the times and seasons we find ourselves in. One thing you should understand is God never leaves his people in the dark. He never leaves us in limbo. God continues to communicate through signs, symbols, dreams, visions, and many other revelatory channels, even via his word. God has been reaching out to as many who have the hearing ear and the seeing eye. And moving forward, there are areas that believers ought to pay attention to. Yes, very, very important. In as much as we have so many spheres out there talking about the family, education, talking about the government or the military, talking about finance, the business world, the corporate world, talking about media and entertainment, talking about religion. So when you look at all these spheres of influence, according to Revelation 11:15, he said, "Now the systems of this world has become the systems of the Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever." That's a proclamation made by the angel who sounded the trumpet. So we are expected to do more, but unfortunately, most people are yet to come into the realization of what this whole kingdom agenda entails. So in this video, I'll be focusing on two areas we ought to pay close attention to, which is one, food sufficiency, and two, reorientation in the areas of talking about the area of education. These areas are very key. You see, when you don't pay attention to control, absolute control in the areas of what we need each passing day, we wouldn't have what it takes to influence certain decisions moving forward. We will continue to rely on a system that obviously is designed to not favor us, the believers in Christ. Yes, these things have been done over the years and repeatedly so. It is being a pattern that you can track down even to this present day. Yes, one thing you should understand is we need to come into sufficiency in the areas of food. One, we need to have sufficient enough to eat. Yes. Two, we need to have sufficient enough to store up. Three, we need to have sufficient enough to sell if there be a need. Then four, we need to have sufficient enough to replant using same seedlings for the next cycle. There are so many people in church who studied agriculture and agricultural processes. There are people who are good in the areas of agro-business. There are people who understand different value chain when it comes to the business of agriculture. And it is high time we start paying attention to bringing these potentials, harnessing our potentials. We need to come into unison. You don't necessarily have to fellowship in the same place. You just need to understand unity of faith being communicated in Colossians and in Ephesians, where we need to come into unity of faith as believers in Christ. Take, for instance, Church A have what it takes to provide the land where the farming is done. Then Church B has what it takes to provide, let's say, the storage facilities. Church C has what it takes to provide, let's say, the funding. Church D has what it takes to provide, let's say, the laborers or those who understand farming, as it were. Yes, let's say the human capital. those who understand the dynamics of how A ought to be done and the like of other things, just to ensure we achieve the same. So it is high time we pay attention to food. The years ahead, we've got 7 years counting from 2023, to be precise, 9th of January 2023. The season of abundance has been opened unto us, and this is something that the Lord has communicated even earlier in the month of May, 23rd May 2022 to be precise, how that there will be a season of plenty and there will be a season of famine. I saw so many people, even well-to-do families that I know, some I know in the physical realm, while many others I don't know, but I just saw so many people in an open field scouting, looking for food. Yes, with empty holes, with empty baskets, carrying hoes and cutlass, searching for food on broken, cracked ground. Like the ground has been cracked, there's drought, there's no food. People were lamenting and all that, inclusive of well-to-do families. Yes, this whole negligence will not pay off. We need to come into an area where we begin to partner with the spirit of wisdom. Proverbs 8:12, the spirit of wisdom talked about partnership, searching out knowledge of witty inventions. He said, I, wisdom, dwell with prudence to find out knowledge of witty inventions. So there is a partnership that's required by the believer and the spirit. So we have the advantage of the spirit, and we need to take advantage, or we need to leverage on the same, because this is how we are able to navigate each sphere of influence and carry out the assignment that is required of us. Yes, without the spirit of wisdom, we obviously will act foolishly. We'll miss out on a whole lot of things. We'll miss out on a whole lot of things. So agriculture is paramount. You could see there are approvals already from the governmental spheres across different nations where genetically modified organisms are now being pushed into our markets. These are not healthy foods. These are laboratory foods. They call them GMOs, genetically modified organisms. These things are strategic to attacking even our foods, our naturally grown foods. So what is the believer's approach in times where naturally grown foods become scarce? You see, we've been given between 2023 to 2030 to come into sufficiency, to come into abundance, and we don't have much time left. We honestly don't have much time left. This is year 2026. That means between now and 2030, we don't even have up to 5 years left. We don't have up to 5 years. We need to come into sufficiency, like I said earlier, sufficient enough to eat, sufficient enough to store up, sufficient enough to sell if there be a need, sufficient enough to replant for the next season. Yes, to continue the cycle. Very, very important. So why we are tackling this area of food sufficiency, there is also something very paramount we need to pay attention to, which is reorientation. Education. The education system is very key. The much younger generation ought to come into understanding what the whole agenda entails, okay? The children, even if our generation understands this mandate, there's got to be a system of continuity. The much younger generation ought to carry on the baton and pass on the same to subsequent generations. If there are no laid down plan, if there are no systems in place to ensure there is transference, to ensure there is continuity, a generation will become a casualty. Yes, there will be catastrophe in the years ahead if there are no systems in place to ensure that the much younger generation carry the same and pass it on to subsequent generation. So there is got to be a system of reorientation. Yes, very important. The minds of the people, until you permeate the minds, the ideologies, the belief system, if you don't institutionalize some of these things we are communicating, you have not really changed the people. That means we have to come into a world where these ideologies ought to be institutionalized, like the way you have household names, household brands. Yes. So for now, let's call this episode 1. Okay, I'll be communicating more as regards the believer's approach in times like this, how to navigate this sphere and how to ensure we emerge victorious. Stay tuned and God bless. So to receive subsequent updates in this regard, if you are watching and you know you've not subscribed to this channel, you can do well to hit the subscription icon, turn on your notification bell, and stay tuned for more. Thank you.